wanted to do a video to explain the preparations that I had to go through, Shakedown, and also some fitness activities to do an upcoming 6-day hike. So being a 6-day hike, and this is the only second time in my life I've done an overnight backpacking trip. And this being 6 days, I'm by no means an expert in any of this, but I just wanted to share some of my experiences of trying to get ready for this particular trip. So what I've got on right now is what is fully loaded, what I will be bringing with me on this backpacking trip, all except for the fuel can. Don't have that, mainly because I'll have to buy that when we get over there to Iceland to do our backpacking trip. But this is overall everything I'm going to be carrying, with some hiking poles. And I think this is about 43 total pounds. So as you can tell, this is not ultralight. This is not light. This is pretty heavy. This is a top-end scale for probably what you want to be hoofing around. But it does carry 6 days worth of food, plenty of backup clothing because the weather is going to range from 40 degrees up to the 50s, maybe 60s if we're lucky. There's always chances of rain, and when we get to higher elevations, chances of snow potentially. So you got to handle all these different situations. So that's the reason for this pretty heavy backpack. One of the things I want to cover also is how I prepared my physical fitness to be able to hopefully handle this for 6 straight days out on the trail. So anyway, stay tuned. I'll break it down and give you a little bit more information. First item that I just purchased from a lesson learned from my last backpacking trip is the Z-Packs pouch. I found that for me, it was very difficult to get to items out of my Osprey pack, such as camera equipment or just snacks while I'm walking down the trail or other nefarious items. So I thought, let's get the Z-Packs, fairly light pack that I could strap to the front, as you saw in the previous segment of the video. And in there, I plan on storing all the camera equipment so I could take videos and pictures. It's a Canon GX7, and that will be there, easy access. Sunglasses in case it gets really bright out there. We hit snow-covered fields if they're still at the higher altitudes. A compass just in case GPS goes wacky on us. This is used for backup navigation. Quick access to a very small Leatherman squirt, which has a knife and a pair of scissors in it to cut through stuff and use it for breakfast in the morning. The other things I'll be throwing into this pack will be the day's food snacks. So I could just snack as I'm walking on the trail. I can even stick a water bottle in here if I wanted to. It's big enough for that instead of having to reach behind me on the side pocket of the backpack. Maybe some sunscreen and a few other items, but it makes it very convenient. I have the strap run around the back of the backpack, and then it just buckles onto the side here, right here. And then you have other buckles and straps that comes with this. I can also use this as a really tiny day pack if you want to take a quick hike somewhere, and I could throw some provisions in there and just hoof it with me. Makes it real convenient to carry around. So I'm happy with how this is working out, and I've taken a few hiking test hikes with it, and it works really well. Well, here is everything unloaded from the backpack and exploded all over the floor. As you can see, it's quite a bit of stuff. So let me go through this. What all is I plan on bringing. Of course, you've got the hiking equipment, which is my boots. And this will be the second time wearing them out, and fairly good. I've got the Lucky trekking poles, and I've got the Big Agnes tent with poles. And with this, you notice the compactor bag underneath. What I do, and if you notice in the earlier video, on the back bottom, I store this on the outside of my sleeping bag, or the backpack. And the last hiking trip, I took a spill, landed on my ass and slid down this little hill. and it wore a hole inside of the bag right here. Tore a hole in. Luckily, no damage was done to the actual tent or ground cover. So to help prevent another accident from happening and tearing up my tent, because this is a really lightweight tent, fairly thin material, I wrap the entire tent when I pack it with the ground sheet, and then I take this and the poles and put it inside the compactor bag and wrap it up so that it provides a little extra protection in case I take another spill or anything rubs up against it or tries to snag it. The other thing that will help with is if it's raining, even though I have a rain cover for the back of this backpack, and it will cover this, it provides some extra protection to keep this dry. But for the main purpose is to keep it protected in case I take another spill like I did last time. The other thing this will come in handy for is this compactor bag can be used, and I will use it as almost like a little tiny ground sheet cover to get inside the tent to crawl in and out in case it's muddy and raining. It will provide a little bit of kneeling room for my knees to get in and out and take off my boots and etc. So dual purpose there. And if you move over here, then my sleep system is Feathered Friends sleeping bag, and it also will be in its own compactor bag, which is inside and in the bottom of the backpack, again to keep it dry in case we're going to be forging a couple of waterways as we're hiking, just in case slip and fall, you dip the backpack in the water, etc. Hopefully this will be wrapped up and keep it dry. Cannot get this baby wet. So that's the reason for that extra compactor bag to wrap up the sleeping bag. I've got a sleep mask because it's almost 24 hours of daylight. Not quite, so I want to be able to block out the sunlight or at least the bright sky when I'm trying to sleep. I got my Arrow blow-up pillow as well as my Excel sleeping pad. Here's the cook system with my cup. It has a lid inside of all my kit here, which is a titanium pot, which included in there is a lid for the cup, as well as a titanium spoon. I got some steaks here, and the reason for the steaks is that I borrowed that from my alcohol fuel burning stove to be able to pin down the titanium shield. So there's a thin shield that I can wrap around the stove because in Iceland it can get quite windy, and it will help break the wind around the stove. The stove I'm using this time is not alcohol. It's going to be the MSR Pocket Rocket using a regular fuel canister because I was not 100% sure how available alcohol was in Iceland. Whereas the stove kits, they sell even at gas stations all over the place. So I went ahead and got the Pocket Rocket Deluxe, which has its own self-igniter. Now when I get to Iceland, I'll also back that up with buying a little Bic butane lighter or equivalent, as well as I brought my striker stick to go with that. Moving down, then I've got a first aid kit with just general assembled items of some medications like Tylenol, ibuprofen, etc. And next to it, I've got the spot device. This is new to my kit. I wanted to, or not the spot, sorry, I apologize. It's the Garmin InReach Mini, and that will allow me to send out an SOS in case we get into trouble. It will also allow me to send text messages and receive text messages all via satellite, GPS. So I don't need cell coverage, etc. So this is a nice little item that I'll be taking as a precaution, backup emergency case. Brought some cord. Don't think I really need it. We don't need to do any hanging of bear bags. Matter of fact, there isn't a lot of trees to hang from to begin with. So, but I brought this just in case there's a problem with equipment, cinching up boots, etc. More precautionary items is this bag here. This has Leuco tape. It has insect repellent. It has Gold Bond for chafing. It has some duct tape, chapstick. What else? Sunscreen. That's about it. And some lens cleaner and a backup pair of prescription glasses in case I break the ones I'm wearing or lose them. So that's all in here to help in case I get blisters on the trail or other items that hot spots develop. Then I'm also bringing my electronic bag, and in here are two different backup batteries. A bigger backup battery and a smaller one. These will get me through 6 days based on everything I need to charge. The charger for the camera that I'm bringing, so I am bringing a better camera this time instead of just relying on the phone, and then a adapter charger in case they have electricity at some of the huts that we'll be staying at, campsites. I can do some charging from this to charge up my backup batteries if necessary. I don't know if it's going to be necessary. And then some backup batteries for my headlamp, which headlamp may not be absolutely necessary at all, except for those few hours of darkness, but I brought them anyways. So that's electronics. And then from outerwear, I got this Sunday hat, which covers a wide brim. It also has a flap down the back to protect the neck from sun. So if it gets real sunny, I can protect myself from that. Rain gear, the top and bottom. Got a mosquito net, head net. Keep away the bugs in case they start to get really bad. And if it gets cold and wet and nasty out there, we have to deal with mud or anything like that. I brought some mechanics gloves, 2 sets here. Just simple rubber gloves to wear as liner temporarily, or just protect my hands from getting wet and then evaporating and creating that cold sensation. Next to it, I got real thin merino wool gloves from REI for warmth while we're hiking. I've got a buff for, runny nose, etc. And then for water crossings and camp shoes for comfort, I've got these liter really lightweight rubber-soled shoes. And also inside I stuffed some sealskin waterproof socks, which I don't know. I'll try them. I've never tried them before, but I'll try them in the water crossings, etc. See how well they hold up in case we get a lot of rain and it's hard to keep the feet dry. So we got that. And then I've talked about the Z-Packs pouch, which is over here. And then breaking it out, here's all my clothes. I've got my fleece, and then I've got the clothes broken up by nightwear gear in the tent. In case my day wear gets in their backup, in case they get wet. And then I've got my cold weather gear, and then I've got internal. So I'll break that out separately and show you. And then I've got my 2 food bags, 3 days, 3 days. And you'll notice these are swag bags I've gotten from multiple NASCAR events I've gone to, and that's what I stuff my food into to keep those organized. And then finally my water bottles, which are currently full of water just for when I was doing my trial runs and Shakedown on the hiking. So those are the 2 water bottles I'll be bringing. And then finally the brain. This is the top of the pack. Osprey's done a good job with this new model that it's easy to snap on and snap off. And so last time I went backpacking, I was a total disaster when it came to organization. Basically, I just ended up every night dumping the entire contents of all the backpack into the bottom of the tent looking for stuff. I was just so disorganized. So this time I'm trying to be a little bit smarter about how I pack and unpack stuff so that I know where it's at, I can grab it and go. This one is going to be mainly for unsnap and take it to get water. It has all the water filters and backup pouches for extra water when we need it, for especially one part of the hike is has no water all the way up to the top and then down halfway down the next day. So 2 liters of water ain't going to cut it. I've got some extra pouches that can carry some extra water for cooking and hydration needs. Also in here is anything dealing with the bathroom. So whether it's toilet paper, wipes, soap, brush, toothpaste, all that items are in here. So all I have to do when I get into camp is just pick this bad boy up and go to wherever I need to go, whether it's the latrine or just to go take care of business. So that makes it real convenient. Pull it off, pull it on. It's easy to carry away. Strap it to the top of the bag, and I'm good to go. So I'll further break down some of these other items to show you what's in the separate bags. Okay, here's the brain broken down. So I've got my water kit, which here is a convenient little thing if the water's hard to get to. I got a one end cut open. I can scoop it up with this. I've got a connector that will go straight into the Sawyer filter, and then I can squeeze out the water, or I got a connector that could fill up the big bags here, each of 64 ounces. So in theory, I could carry 264-ounce containers of water, including the water bottles over here. So I will have plenty of water that I can carry. It just depends on how much weight I want to hoof on the fifth into sixth day of the hike. So that's the water filter. I brought some Aquafina, even though, I'm sorry, not Aquafina, geez, Aquamira drops. I don't think that's going to be necessary. Most people claim you could drink straight out of the water. It's fairly clean in Iceland, but you just never know. But at the very least, as a precaution, I am going to use a water filter. And then this is, as you can tell, I've got my little spade for digging cat holes. However, Iceland has a real strict policy on carrying out your own toilet paper, so I'm not sure they really care for you to do that. So as a precaution, in here is also toilet paper and disinfectant, etc., toothpaste, toothbrush, but I also brought Go Anywhere toilet kit. Now, this may seem overkill, but I was thinking that in case we're on the trail, we need it, and it's got a way that you can put solid waste in here, liquid waste, and if we really need to cart out, can't leave anything behind, I've got these, and I brought enough, one for each day. Could probably share among the guys if needed. And I was also thinking, late at night, you're in the tent, it's cold as hell, you don't want to get out, even though there may be a latrine down the way. If I'm too lazy, well, guess what? I got one of these. So, sounds disgusting, but that is backpacking and essential. And then finally, the headlamp, and I don't know if I'll really be using this at all, but there it is. So that's the brain broken down. So I can carry all this stuff with me. Like I said, it's all bath items and water items. Go get water, just take it with me. Go to the bath, just take this whole thing with me. A couple of huts where we're staying campsites actually have showers, so I can actually go take a shower and do that as well. So that explains the top part of my backpacking kit. Here is the one bag of clothes, which is what I call my cold weather gear. So I've got the heavy duty gloves, a little thicker. They also have a pull-out pouch that you can cover that gives you some rain protection in case it's raining and really cold, where the lightweight gloves back there will not do the trick. So I've got that. I've got the balaclava and I use it for biking, but I use that for sleeping at night. Can also use it during the day hiking. So that covers the whole head and most of the face. So that provides some extra protection in case it's real windy and cold. Then, of course, got my Ghost Whisperer, not Ghost Whisperer, but the Mountain Hardwear jacket here. And it's very lightweight and fluffy jacket, very lightweight but very warm. So this is a really nice and foldable addition. So when it gets real cold, you put this on. So that's one of my layers hiking. The other layer I have is my fleece. And then beyond that, then it's just going to be a regular hiking shirt by Columbia and hiking pants. So that's the cold weather gear and layer approach I'm going to be using, and also help out with sleeping at night. Now, I remember on the last trip, I actually put this bad boy on at one point because I was really cold, but it does keep you nice and warm. Okay, in this next bag, I call this my backup hiking bag. So if I were to get all my hiking clothes really wet day one and it doesn't dry out by day two, then I have a backup pair to go to. So I have backup hiking socks, backup set of underwear. Actually, I brought 2 pairs of those. Hiking shirt, which is the Columbia long sleeve that's easy to kind of roll up the sleeves if you get warm. Very lightweight. And then finally the Columbia hiking pants, convertible. So these you can also zip off the bottom part of the leg and make them into shorts if you so desire. So that's it for the backup. So if you think about it, I'll be wearing one set of these with hiking socks and underwear, and then this is a backup set with a third pair of underwear. And so I can alternate back and forth if they get wet, as I'm hiking the next day if it stops raining, hang out the others on my backpack to dry, or at night in the tent. So that's for that purpose. And finally, this last bag is for I'm in the camp, ready to settle in for the night, comfy clothes. So what I have, I'll be wearing a pair, potentially, I'm bringing two of these. One I'm going to wear is the Nike Pro pants. And boy, these things really work well. If you put these underneath your hiking pants and it's a strong wind, these will keep you warm. I've worn these on bike rides. I've worn these going out jogging or walking when it's just really cold. These work fantastic. I also got the equivalent with the shirt as well. So I can wear these underneath the hiking clothes, which I will be doing. And these are sleep. So I don't want to get into my sleeping bag and dirty, grungy, sweaty clothes at night. I'll put these on, especially when it gets cold at night. That will keep me good and toasty. A pair of shorts to wear to the shower or just around camp over the tights so I don't look like some screwball. Heavy neck cap I could put on over the balaclava if it's really cold at night to cover the ears and the head. I've got my washcloth, which would really be used for wiping up damp areas in the tent, and then the overall fleece towel, so I could go, when we go hit the showers at some of the campsites, clean up a little bit or get wet. You can use this to dry up. And then sleeping socks, so I don't hike in these. These will be nice and clean and they'll keep my feet nice and warm inside the sleeping bag. And then finally, these. If the sealskin socks do not work out, I'll just go with no backup method. If I want to traipse around camp, not my hiking boots, but my lightweight shoes, let my feet relax. But what if it's wet and rainy and you don't want your feet getting wet, especially when it's cold out? So put these on over the socks or over my feet and keep the rain off my feet and wear them inside those shoes. So that's the reason for that. It's just a backup that actually seems to work. I used that last time I went backpacking. So that's my entire mess exploded out. All my clothes, the water, everything. The thing I haven't mentioned yet is food, and I'll show that in a little bit. But I do also have something I didn't mention earlier, a sit pad. So I'll be using this instead of a chair. I'm not bringing a chair. I'm already I'm going to be up to 44 pounds as it is. I had a chair, I'm up to 45. And also I just do not have the room to carry all this. So I'm going to bring the sit pad instead and just hoof it on the ground. And hey, sacrifices, right? So anyways, that's it for this portion. Then we'll cover the food. Okay, now we have the food. So it follows a general theme. I've broken up the food stash into day by day. So I just pull out that day's food and go. So I've got 3 days, 3 days. Except for the first and last day, each day looks pretty similar. So I'll only show you one of the bags. So each bag I have your own. You have to cart out your own trash. There's only a few sites where you can dump trash, so I need something to store the garbage in. I also have an extra one of these bags in case I don't eat all the food. Overestimated how much I was going to need. I could put it in that bag and then just use that as carryover, spillover, share with the guys, whatever. I try to guesstimate I need about 3,000 calories a day. That may be overkill, underkill, I don't know. But I just want to make sure I had enough energy by the time we get to day 5 for the tough climb and day 6 coming back down, that I had enough energy and I wasn't depleted and just, out of energy. So I wanted to bring enough food for calories that I'm trying to sustain my strength and keep going throughout the day. So that being said, again, I'm not an expert in nutrition or anything. So we're going for overkill here, I think. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see what I end up with by the time I get done with this backpacking trip. First of all, I've got tortillas. These are wonderful. They last almost forever. Street taco size. I'll be eating 2 of these a day with peanut butter equivalent, which is these guys here. So it's the RX nut butter. So I'll be eating 2 of these, 1 por tortilla for lunch per day. And these are really good. I like these. Matter of fact, I may start eating them for lunch at home. So that's going to be lunch carried throughout, and this is shareable throughout the multiple lunches. I've got Nuin tablets that if I need electrolytes, if I start cramping up or I feel that I'm just tired of water and I need a little bit of sweetness to add to my water, I have several tablets of that. and also a whole packet of dried milk. So this milk will be used for hot chocolate at night and also for coffee in the morning. So that's also shareable and I put enough in here to last me for 6 days. Now, the other thing I'll be eating during the day, so you start out breakfast, I'll be doing a Mountain House, probably biscuits and gravy most every day. So that's what I'll be doing for a hot breakfast. And then I mentioned lunch earlier with the tortillas. And then for dinner, it'll be turkey dinner casserole by Mountain House or the chicken dish. I forget what it's called. It's in one of the other pouches. But I'll be alternating one of those two for hot dinner at night. For snacks at night, hot cocoa, something a little sweet before you go to bed. Hit that sweet tooth. In the morning, I also have coffee, the Columbia from Starbucks, instant coffee. And then for snacks during the day, I brought 3 of these Health Warrior per day, which are 100 calories each. These are really good. The Chia bars, dark chocolate, are really good. And then I also put together my own trail mix. So I'll be carrying not 1 per day. I brought, I think, 4 of these packets. Hopefully we'll spread over 6 days because these are pretty heavy to be bringing along. But I made my own trail mix with nuts and some raisins. I'll be bringing that for snacks. So that's it. So I got my snacks, got my lunch, got my breakfast, got my 2 dinners, hot cocoa, and that's going to be it per day. It's not quite 3,000 calories per day, but I think it will do. And if not, you know, a couple of the huts do have some items that if you're really starving, you could buy some stuff like chips and crazy nonsense like that to fill up on carbs. So I'm not too worried about that, but it's enough to get me through. So that's it. So I got it broken up by day in each individual bag, and I've got it broken up 3 days by 3 days, and that goes in the top of the backpack. This constitutes a majority of the weight, along with the water I was testing with. So that's it for the food and water. The last topic I want to talk about is doing a shakedown and getting ready physically for a backpacking trip. And not an expert, but just share with you some of what I've gone through. Now, when I went backpacking last year, it's been a little over a year ago, I was woefully out of shape. Before I started, I was 201 weight. I did go out and start walking, trying to carry a backpack with the weight I anticipated. Did lose 15 pounds, and I thought I'm going to be okay. Now, it kicked my ass. When we got out there, the elevation climbs, my strength wasn't in my legs. My cardio just totally sucked. My heart was beating out of my chest. So it made for very hard hikes at times. So I decided this year, when I got back last year, first I decided is I need to be physically fit. I can't go through life being a fat guy just fumbling through. So let's do our best to get in better shape and lose weight, and I did. Through diet and exercise down to, and I've been hovering around now between 152 to 157, and it fluctuates. But that's where my weight is. So I've lost quite a bit of weight. So I've gotten the weight off. I'm down to a comfortable weight now that I feel for me. The other thing I've done is I've gone jogging, and now I'm able to do up to more than 6 miles in an hour. And then I alternate those days with doing some strength training to keep my muscles built up at my age, which now coming up on age 57, they say that you need to work on your strength training and your balance. So I did some of that. So I figured I'm going to be in pretty good shape for this, or at least a lot better position than I was last year. But a word of warning on that, don't get over exuberant on, yeah, I exercise, I'm going to be okay. The best way to figure out and get in shape for a backpacking trip is to go backpacking or hiking with your backpack, with the weight you anticipate. And the reason I say that is kind of interesting. I'm doing all these exercises, right? Special leg exercises where I do lunges with weights, heavy weights. I do squats. I do all these things to try to help build up some muscle. Not Arnold Schwarzenegger by any stretch of the imagination, but enough to increase my strength better than where I was. However, nothing prepares you for what hit me last time I went backpacking and this week, which is the muscles at the very top in front of your thighs. Those babies really got sore. What I did is I put on this backpack with the 43 pounds, fully loaded with everything I have, went out and I figured I'm going to dog it today. I'm going to really kick it because I know I'm in shape. This was Sunday. Tried to put in 8.25 miles, and I made 8.25 miles with a half-hour break in the middle of it for lunch. It liked to kick my ass. Now, granted, it was hot. It was over 90 degrees, very humid here in Texas, but it kicked my ass. Very tired by the end of it. Man, my muscles were sore in my legs, top upper thighs. So all the exercises I was doing didn't prepare me for that. Didn't prepare me for the weight I needed to carry. So what I've been doing this week is I took a day off, did it again Tuesday, did a little over 5 miles, took a day off, then did it again today, a little over 6 miles, did a 2-hour hike with a backpack on. And let me tell you, there's nothing in the world that beats actually doing what you need to do. I would suggest anybody that does backpacking, put the weight on your back you think you're going to carry and put in the steps, whether it's a half hour first or then kick it to an hour, etc. Get used to carrying the weight because it will hit muscles that you're not used to hitting. Now, if anybody out there knows what exercises exist outside of carrying a backpack around town looking like a homeless dude that hits these upper muscles on the front of your legs and exercise them, I would love to know what that exercise is because that's really what got me. So I suggest anybody that's going to be doing this, get out there and just put on the backpack, get used to carrying the weight. No matter what kind of athlete you are, it'll help. Because quite honestly, if I had waited until the very first day and we did the 7 miles and I'm carrying that weight, next day I would have been dying because my muscles were so sore the following day. So just keep that in mind. At least a couple of weeks out, do it. For me, it's a week out. I feel pretty comfortable now. I was able to kick it out today in the heat, no problem, mainly because I think my physical fitness level is a lot better now, and I'm able to recover a lot quicker. Now, talking about shakedown, the other thing that's important about doing a hike ahead of time is to shake down the equipment. Does the pack feel right? Do you get any hot spots? Are there rub areas that may cause you problems? Because if it's a little irritating, it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. So for me, I know on the last backpacking trip, I was ready because I knew what my shoes were going to do to me. I got the gel pad here that I put on the outside of my left ankle because the boot, for whatever reason, was pressing and bruising the outside of my ankle. Have that, and I wear that on one side. On the other side, on the back of the heel, it rubs on the other boot. So I use this miracle stuff called Leuco tape. Leuco P, you can get it on Amazon. It's fantastic stuff. It sticks. Doesn't come off right away in the shower. It will last a while, and it's great for preventing blisters, or even if you start getting a blister, to cover up and help with the abrasion. I usually put on 2 or 3 layers. I'm good to go. So I put that on for the hikes this week. Not a single problem. My wife also uses it when she has blisters on her feet. This stuff is fantastic. So I brought some with me on the trip in case other hot spots develop, but I'm going to pre-treat my ankle or the back of my foot before we go hiking, and should be good to go. The other thing I discovered on this hike, which I never had before, is because this backpack, even though it's Osprey, which I had last time it was a large size, which was a little too big. So as I lost weight, the hip belt just was too big on me. So I went down to the medium size of the Osprey. All right, no problem. I'm out backpacking with all this weight. All of a sudden, I got tremendous bruises right over the front of my hip bone. And I think it's partly because of the way I have the strap set up. Even with this medium pack and the weight I've lost, when I cinch it up, I have very little room left unless I extend that hip belt. Well, it's cutting into my skin or pressing against the top of my hip belt, causing bruising. So, improvised. I've got these triangle Band-Aids that I had bought a long time ago in the first aid kit, pretty thick. I just put one on each side above the hip, wore it out today, perfect, solved the problem, no bruising, no soreness. So that's what I mean about going out and even putting on the backpack with the weight you're anticipating, put in the miles, get it out there, figure out what your sore spots are, address it ahead of time, because These are the kind of things that would make a backpacking trip miserable if you discovered it and had nothing to address it while you're out there on the trail. So just a couple words of advice on that, and that's about it. So anyways, that's it. So I'll be taking all this fun stuff, packing it up, putting it in a duffel, checking it in with the airline, American Airlines. Hopefully they don't lose it. Flying to Iceland, and then we'll be with two of my buddies going on a 6-day backpacking trip, and it should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And the one thing is I can prepare as much as I can for multiple situations. You can't prepare for anything, but hopefully, hey, let the chips fall where they may. I think I'm pretty well set, and this is going to be a good time. So to all those out there who like backpacking, thumbs up, and I'll talk to you later. Sorry, I'm back. I forgot to mention a couple other things. One, also test your equipment, which I've already done. So from the last backpacking trip, I wanted to make sure everything still functioned, which would be does the sleep pad still inflate, not lose air? So I inflated it, let it sit for a couple days, laid on it, no leaks. Same with my inflatable pillow. Also took the tent out, put it in the backyard, took a garden hose to it and just watered it down like crazy, make sure there was no leaks. There wasn't. It also tended to rain that night too, so that helped too, test that out. So make sure you test your equipment. I also tested the water filter, the Sawyer Mini, and what was kind of interesting about it, it did have some problems at the beginning. I think it got dried out from the last use, and no water was coming through, so I let it soak, and then eventually the water started to flow. Had me worried at first, but once it started working, I knew we're good to go there. So I tested the water filter. I tested my MSR Pocket Rocket Deluxe, make sure it fired up and worked. So the important thing is to test all your equipment, not only going out hiking with your pack on, but test everything out, make sure it still works, it's still watertight, so you're not surprised while on the trail. The other thing that I'll be bringing that I didn't mention earlier is my Garmin Fenix watch, the 5 Plus here. This watch is pretty awesome. There's wonderful reviews out there that will give you all the specs and what it does, but all I've used it for thus far is my fitness trainer. It tracks all of my activities as well as it plays music. So I have wireless headphones. I play my music list on here. It's pretty nice for doing that. But what I'll also be using it on the trail for is I used an app called Gaia GPS, and I created our hiking trails broken up into 6 days. And then I also loaded it to the watch. So the watch is a GPS device that will allow me to, and will tell me whether I'm on trail or off trail and tell me how far I have to go. So it's a really great device for backpacking. As a backup to this, if something were to happen with this, I've got the Gaia GPS on my phone I can use. And if that goes wonky, then I've also got a printout of the backpacking trip on hard copy along with my compass. So that's I think that's everything. So again, I'm going to end this, and I promise this is the end. Thank you.